Hello, Barb. First of all, thank you so very much for taking the time to answer these questions. You are the creator of homestaging. Your work is admired all over the world, and you have with that given us a new profession. Thank you so very much for that. We really appreciate the opportunities. So at the beginning, let's talk about how it all started. Please tell us, why did you invent homestaging, and do you feel that you have achieved what you set out to do?
Thank you, Iris. It's just so great to be with all of you. I'm very honored that you asked me to put some of my thoughts on tape. And I know you're just having the most successful event all together. So I'm really thankful to be a part of that. My motivation was really to help people that wanted to get their homes sold. You know, some people think that staging's always been around, and no, it hasn't. When I got into real estate in the early 70s, I just was shocked the way that houses looked. You know, they were dirty and so much clutter and too much furniture, and the list goes on and on. And so I thought I need to come up with a way to explain this to them so they will do what I ask them to do, to prepare their home for sale. Now, all my life I thought I was going to be a singer and in the theater. And I had done a number of off-Broadway musicals and plays. And I got to thinking about the theater and that we have acts. You know, the first act, second act, etc. And we always set the stage according to what's happening in that particular act. So I asked a seller one day, "Do you like the theater?" And she was like, "Oh, I love the theater. What's that got to do with selling my house?" And I said, you know, every room in your home is a different purpose. And it's like in the theater, there are acts. And so the dining room is one act, and you know, the kitchen is another. And what I would like to do is to be your director, because this is a set. And what we want to do is stage the set in every room. Now, you're the producer too because you own it. Well, maybe you and the bank. And you're the star because you live here. And then there are the critics. And those are real estate agents. And they can talk behind a seller and the listing agent's back. You know, they'll name houses like the ugly front door house, or the white picket fence house, or the bad back porch house, because it's hard for them to remember all the addresses. And so we want to please the critics, and the best way to do that is by setting the stage in each room. And of course there's the audience. And when it comes to real estate and selling your home, the audience is the buyers. And so on Broadway, it's a sellout. At least that's what the producers hope. And that's what you want too, is that your home will sell, and sell for top dollar on the market that you're currently listing it in. And the agents want that too. We just need to help educate them as well. So as I explained this to her, her eyes got really big, and she did almost 100% of what I asked her to do. Now this house, this property, had been on the market almost 2 years, and with different real estate agents. And after I went through the house with her and showed her what to do, it sold the second week full price. And she was thrilled. And I thought, maybe I'm onto something. So the next house I went to, what I used as an analogy in that property was Hollywood, because they had all these movie posters. So I said, you know, Hollywood can set the scene any way that they want. They can make the house messy, or they can make it look great for shooting that film. Well, we want to set the scene in every one of your rooms so that we appeal to the most amount of buyers. And that house sold too right away. So then the next one that I went to, they had Disneyland posters. That was one of their goals, to go to Disneyland. They had them all over the house. So I said to this family, including the kids, if there's ever a place that's been staged it's Disneyland. And maybe some of you have been to Disneyland. And so they too did everything that I asked, and their house sold. So that's really how it all started. It's the absolute truth. And nobody else in the Seattle, Washington area knew what I was talking about. You know, every other agent or other people's sellers, they would say, well, I don't understand, that won't work. No one has ever heard more no's than me on the planet. Because every seller that I met, I was so motivated, still am, and dedicated to not take no for an answer. So we'll talk about some of the ways that we can really help them. Now, you asked me if I've achieved what I set out to do. Someone asked me about 25 years ago, what is your goal, Barb? And I said, I want to stage the world. And they probably laughed at me, at least inside. And I really do, because what staging does is for the good of all concerned. The seller, the buyer, the real estate agent, the stager. And when all things work for good, there's nothing to keep it from happening or to get in the way. And so, humbly, I'm really honored to share these thoughts with you. And it's exciting to see you staging in Germany and to see others in Italy or in Japan, as well as Canada and the United States, to bring those properties on the market in the best way possible by having the property staged.
Wow, I learned something there. Thank you for that. Now, let's talk about home staging as a profession. What do you feel is the most important ability or talent a home stager should have?
Thank you, Iris. That's a great question. And I have observed hundreds of thousands of home stagers and real estate agents, for that matter. And really what I feel is the very most important is the word integrity. To really come from a place of service. As you come from the place of service, then the money will take care of itself. It will follow you everywhere. Because as you show that you care, which comes along with integrity, and that you believe in the best service possible, you're going to honor, that's another word, your clients. And as you do that, I really have found that those people are the most successful.
Thank you. All DGHR members are working according to your principles and standards. Which, in your opinion, are the most important ones and must be adhered to in every project?
Well, I mentioned a few of them, Iris, in what I just said as I answered the previous question, and yet there are other things that go along with this too, so thank you. Working in steps is really, really important. Don't try to achieve it all the first time you shake somebody's hand. You know, working in steps is the way that doctors should work and accountants should work. Any professional. In other words, you just don't go and sit in the dentist chair and they say, open your mouth. Oh my gosh, we got to take all your teeth out now. No, they don't do that. And they're going to work in steps to serve their patient. Well, as we work with sellers, we need to work in steps too. So to knock on the door, put our hand out and say, nice to meet you. Oh my gosh, I smell cat pee. Oh, look at all those trophies on your mantle. You'll have to get rid of all those. They're going to escort us to the door and slam the door behind us. So it's really about building relationships and putting people first. You see, to work with you, I need to like you. And I need to feel that I can trust you. So it's really important that you build a relationship based upon trust and by honoring the clients and that word integrity, and also letting them know about your work. which means to have referrals and to have pictures before and after, because it's all about educating the client. People aren't stupid. When they are educated and it makes sense to them, they're going to move ahead. They are going to say, yes, it's really important. We're going to work with you and get our house staged.
Okay, and what is the most important goal for any home staging project?
You know, that's another great question. I love your questions, Iris. Thank you. The number one goal is to get the house sold. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. People get this mixed up. They think they're going to go in and decorate the house. And some of you may be designers or decorators. You know, staging as I invented it is not decorating. This is because decorating is about personalizing the property. So if the people like pink and purple, you're going to do pink and purple. They love wallpaper all over the place, you're going to do that. However, to get the house sold, we need to stage it. And as I have invented and evolved this industry, staging is about de-personalizing the property. De-personalizing the property. Because we don't want the buyers attracted to their things, we want them attracted to the space. So it's really about preparing the project, carrying it out, so that the space in this particular property shows off to its very, very best.
Now let's talk a little about how we persuade our clients. What in your experience is the most effective way to convince an estate agent to have a property staged?
Well, Iris, it really comes down to the word I mentioned before, education. Because people always want to know, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for the real estate agent is that they're going to make more money and they're going to make it faster because their role is to get that property sold for the most amount of money possible and in the quickest amount of time. So they need to price the property, but they also need to have the property staged. So as you appeal to the fact, wouldn't you like to make more money? What are they going to say? No. It's all about helping you as a real estate agent, I would say to them, to sell your listings quicker and for more money. And one of the things that you can point out is that when a house sits and it doesn't sell, eventually that real estate agent is going to lower the price, lower the price, lower the price, and the commission of the realtor is going to be less and less and less because as the value or the price of the home goes down on the market, they're not going to make as much money. And through the years, I've invented what I call Barb's staging sayings, and they're quick sound bites, I'll call them, of how to share things with people in a quick amount of time. So my staging saying on this, whether it's to the real estate agent or to the homeowner, is this. The investment of staging in your property is far less than a price reduction on your property. And once they really think about that, and you can show them the facts and the figures, then they end up saying, yes, let's get it staged.
Wow. Now, do you try to convince non-believers, or do you feel that would be wasted energy?
You know, Iris, it's all education, and I would never walk away without educating them. What I'll share with people sometimes is, I appreciate your opinion. I do understand what you're saying. One of the things that I would like to share with you is that we have statistics that staging works. So sooner or later, you're going to need me. And I'll be here to help you right away. You see, it's a matter of educating each person that we meet. And sometimes stagers, they're afraid of hearing no. Well, the way that I look at no is that you need to get through a certain amount of no's before you get to the yes. And what I found through all these many years is that eventually those that have said no, 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 the time comes, the proof is in the pudding, when they see other agents who have had their property staged or homeowners who have had you stage it sell in a quicker amount of time and for more money, then all of a sudden they start to say, okay, I get it. I'm going to have my listing staged too. So don't walk away. Educate them. Be wonderful you. Smile. Let them know your services. And just remind them that the time's going to come that you're going to be there to help serve them when they're ready.
Excellent. In Germany, the clients often want to tell the stager what to do and what not. They want to cherry pick out of a list of necessary works. How do you convince your clients to do enough so that the result will not be compromised?
Well, you know, everyone, and Iris, this is another great question. We're back to that word education. And it is a series of steps of educating the client. I also talked about the word trust because as I meet people and talk with them, and one of my famous sayings is, let me tell you how I work. You need to explain the steps of service that you're going to be doing and the reasons for those steps of service. So just as I talked about before, we don't want to go in there and just start telling them things right away. They are going to put up a wall. And the same is true in a vacant property. They're going to say, well, I want to pick what goes there, or we don't need that. And that's because we didn't gain enough of their trust. I always say to people in the beginning, when I talk about let me tell you how I work and the steps that I go through, I ask them the question, you know, would you prefer to work with someone that tells you what they think you want to hear? Or would you prefer to work with someone that always shares the truth with you that you really want to know? And so what I do as I serve my clients, and you'll read about some of their wonderful remarks in letters of reference that I've left you, and in before and after pictures that I've also shown you and left you, is they said, Barb, you're the expert. You are trained, you are accredited and certified, and we're not as homeowners. So whatever you think is the very best, that's what we want, working with our budget. Now, you see, in doing that, by educating them in steps, we need to get to the place where they hand us the baton so that they don't challenge anymore anything you do. I mean, let's use an accountant as an analogy, or a CPA. If you took a stack of papers in of your receipts for your business to your CPA and you said, here, how much do I owe? And the CPA didn't do any work, they just said, well, let me feel this. I think you're going to owe about $30,000 in taxes. You wouldn't like that. And should you say, well, I'm only willing to pay $15,000, that's not going to work. And it's because that accountant or CPA did not work in steps and did not educate you. And the same is true for us. So I want to win them over by letting them know who I am, what I've done for others that I can now do for them. And we want to do that in a really soft, humble way. Because people have questions, and they might even have what's called objections. I don't like that word. In my trainings, I always have people change that word to concerns. So when they ask questions, they have a concern. And being patient with them, and being ready and prepared, be prepared for what they may ask you, and have really information to educate them on the benefits of staging and the statistics of how homes sell when they're staged so much faster and for more money. We have them right on the homepage of stagedhomes.com, for example. And to let them know about your qualifications. And in doing that in a really soft, professional way. And leaving letters of reference. And then coming up with your ideas and your plan of what you will do for them. And when you do the first things that I said first, they really start to get on board when they learn the benefits and the statistics and read letters of other people that have worked with you, of what they've said about your work and the before and after pictures. And then you lay out a plan why you have hopefully built that trust that they don't start picking it apart. Now, people have budgets. I share with you, I never ask them what the budget is ahead of time. Because I will tell you, should you say, what is your budget for staging? They're probably not going to tell you the truth. Now, why is that? Because some plumber or electrician asked them once, what's your budget for plumbing? And they told them a figure. Well, guess what the bid came in at? It came right in at the figure that they had told the plumber. So I learned, and I learned it the hard way, that I don't say, what's your budget? What I share is that I'm known in my community for sharing the truth that you deserve to know. Like I shared with you a minute ago, and I'm going to put together the very best plan to serve your needs. Then we will go through that together, and I will work to fit that plan to your time frame and budget. That's what you do. So by building the front end of your credibility and sharing the information with them and saying the things that I've been teaching you to say, people are less resistant and they begin to say, just do whatever you want, Barb. Then I know that I've done my work right.
Wow, thank you for sharing all of that with us. I admire your work with charities. How did you get the idea to the Worldwide Staging Service Week?
My Worldwide Staging Service Week is really near and dear to my heart. Throughout my career individually, before I started teaching and speaking, every year I would see a family that was really in need and their home needed to be staged. And yet they were really poor and they did not have the budget to do anything. And I decided that I would donate my staging to one or two families or even an organization like the waiting room at the hospital, because it looked awful, the local hospital. And by doing that, I just felt so good and the people loved it so much. And I found it was a way to get back to my community. And so as I birthed the ASP designation, Accredited Staging Professional, and the Master Course, and founded the Staging University and stagedhomes.com, and the International Association of Home Staging Professionals, of which you now, as an association, are an affiliate with us, I said I want to carry that forth and have all of our stagers participate. And then I came up with what I call Worldwide Staging Service Week. Sometimes we use the initials WW, SSW, and I federally trademark all that. And you know what my wish is that you also join us and participate in it in your communities too. And the dates I picked, and this was way before 9/11. It was fortuitous in many ways that I picked these dates. September 12th to September 19th, 7 days. And so our chapters, our graduates get together, whether it's 5 graduates or 15 graduates or 10, and what they do is pick a project. It could be a women's shelter or a children's home. And we bring in sponsors like paint companies and furniture companies and floor companies that can help improve the property. Also, though, we donate our staging. Sometimes we donate some of our staging supplies because, you know, we've been using them long enough that we don't need them anymore, and then we get new ones. The key is that we really feel blessed to be able to help change people's lives. You change their environment, you change their lives. And I would like you to go to the homepage of IAHSP.com. Your banner is there, and you are listed as an affiliate with us. And go to the very bottom of the page and look at the 2 DVDs of what we do during Worldwide Staging Service Week. We also, up at the top of the homepage, over on the right side, it says Worldwide Staging Service Week, and you click on that, and that will take you to 2015's projects, and you click on each link, and you'll see what those different groups did. You know, in the end, we cry sometimes when we leave the projects. We feel that we get more out of it than anybody, and by that I mean in our hearts. It is so moving to see a little child come up to you, and you found out in this children's home that they haven't spoken for 6 months, haven't said a word because they've been so traumatized, and never given a hug. And we as a group transformed her little room. She became a princess. And the caretaker there, as we were about to leave, as the little girl was holding her hand, looked me in the eyes and said, "Emily just said the first word she said in 6 months, and she wants to give you a hug." Well, you can imagine all the tears were pouring down, and that's what I mean about we feel so blessed to be able to serve those in need. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I want you to join us next year and pick projects in your areas too, and we'll put them on the International Association of Home Staging Professionals site. And what an honor it would be to have you join us in that way. You know, I've worked to think of different things that we need for that. So we have forms that, you know, we have the beneficiary sign and the participant sign and that the vendor sign so that we do it the right way. And we have policies that we follow in serving those in need. And so I'll be able to share those with Iris and others in your organization as 2016 moves forward. I'm so glad you asked me about Worldwide Staging Service Week.
Barb, you have achieved so much. What are you most proud of?
Wow. I feel really honored that you asked me that question. You know, some of us have heroes, and one of my heroes was my grandfather. I really credit him for so much that he taught me when I was really young. And I lived with my grandparents in the beginning quite a long time, and they had a farm. I love animals, and that's partly why. He also, though, taught me about behavior and attitude, and he always said to me, "Barb, no matter what, stay humble." Humility, he said, is really, really important. And so I feel like my work has been as a laser beam. Work each day, then go to the next. Accomplish what I can the next day, and then go to the next. And so since I started working on all of this in 1972, many, many years ago, and people really didn't begin to find out about it until I started teaching and traveling around North America. And that was in the 80s and 90s and in the 2000s as well. It was in my heart, thinking about my grandfather, to feel good and yet at the same time to be really humble. And so I feel that my role on earth has been to help people improve their properties, to change their environment, and to see the people change too. And to also support and empower other women and men as best as possible. I also, my grandfather taught me, and I learned, was walk the talk. And there are many people that I've observed through the years that maybe when they're giving a talk or a speech, it sounds really great, but once they're off the stage or the platform, they're doing the very opposite things that they talked about. So walking the talk is really important to me. And I believe it's important to you too, or you wouldn't be listening to our conversation today. So what we talk about in training, we need to do as we serve people. We can apply the ideas with our family and our neighbors, integrity and honesty and honoring them and working in steps and educating them. And as we do those things, that includes you, not just me. We are really changing the world for the better. I am so honored that you asked me to be with you today. And I want to give a special hug and thank you to Iris for the communication that she's had with me. And I am so excited to have the opportunity to visit with you and talk with you in Germany. What an honor this is. Thank you so much.